You are about to discover something that almost no one talks about when it comes to medical emergencies. Something so simple that many people don't even believe it the first time they hear it. Imagine for a moment that you are living an ordinary day. The kitchen is quiet, the smell of coffee is in the air, everything seems normal. Suddenly, something changes. Your body begins to act in a strange way. One arm feels heavy. Words don't come out correctly. One side of your face seems unresponsive. In that moment, every second counts. And most people believe that in this kind of situation, there is nothing to do except wait for the ambulance. But there is a truth that very few people know. The human body itself has mechanisms that can help protect the brain while help is on the way. That is exactly what happened to Margaret, a 68-year-old woman who was simply preparing her breakfast on a quiet morning. Without any warning pain or discomfort, the cup slipped from her hand. Her left arm would no longer respond. When she tried to call her husband, the words came out confused and tangled. One side of her face began to droop slowly. These are classic signs of a stroke. In just a few seconds, what had seemed like a normal situation turned into a medical emergency. A stroke happens when blood stops reaching the brain properly. The brain needs oxygen constantly to function. Without blood carrying oxygen, brain cells begin to die quickly. That is why time is so critical in these situations. The faster a person receives help, the greater the chances of recovery. But what Margaret did at that moment caught the attention of doctors. Instead of panicking, running around the house, or trying to ignore the symptoms, she did something very simple. She changed her body position and began controlling her breathing slowly and calmly. That simple decision may have made a significant difference. When doctors at the hospital reviewed the case, they said that her actions likely helped maintain blood flow to the brain for a longer period. That may have prevented greater damage. It may sound surprising, but the human body has natural survival systems. In moments of danger, it tries to find ways to keep vital functions working. The problem is that many people simply do not know how to support their own bodies during these moments. Every day, thousands of people around the world experience strokes. In the United States, for example, a stroke occurs approximately every 40 seconds. It is a frightening number, and many of these cases happen quietly, without a clear warning. Most people imagine a stroke as something dramatic, like someone suddenly collapsing to the ground. But that is not always how it begins. In fact, the beginning can be very subtle. The brain works like a large city filled with lights. Every thought, every movement, every word depends on energy delivered through the blood. If a small part of that blood flow decreases, a small area of the brain can begin to malfunction. Sometimes it lasts only a few seconds. An arm feels strange for a moment. Speech becomes slurred briefly. Vision becomes blurry and then returns to normal. Many people ignore these signals because they disappear quickly. They assume it was just fatigue or something insignificant. But these episodes can be a very serious warning. Doctors call this a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. Some people refer to it as a mini stroke, but there is really nothing mini about it. It is like a fire alarm in the brain signaling that something is wrong. The problem is that many people have spent their entire lives being taught not to complain, not to ask for help, not to bother anyone. So when something strange happens, they simply wait for it to pass. That habit can be dangerous. When a clot blocks a blood vessel that carries blood to the brain, oxygen stops reaching the tissue properly. Without oxygen, brain cells begin to die within minutes. However, there is often a small window at the beginning of the problem when blood flow has not completely stopped. During that time, the body may still be able to compensate partially. This is exactly when small actions may help. When Margaret realized something was wrong, she did 3 simple things. First, she did not panic. This is more important than it seems. Panic causes the heart to race and can worsen circulation. Next, she sat down and lay her body back to avoid falling. Then she elevated her legs using pillows. This position can help blood that has pooled in the legs return more quickly to the heart and then move upward toward the brain. But there was another important detail. Margaret began breathing slowly. She inhaled through her nose for a few seconds, held the air briefly, and then exhaled slowly through her mouth. This type of breathing helps the body relax. It also helps increase the amount of oxygen in the blood. Together, these two actions, body positioning and calm breathing, may help the brain continue receiving blood for a longer period while medical help is arriving. This does not replace medical treatment. It never replaces it. A stroke always requires urgent hospital care, but gaining a few extra minutes can make a huge difference. The first minutes of a stroke are extremely important. They often determine whether a person will fully recover or live with permanent complications. That is why recognizing the signs is so important. The most common signs include weakness or numbness on one side of the body, difficulty speaking, slurred words, drooping on one side of the face, blurred vision, severe dizziness, or loss of balance. Sometimes a sudden, very strong headache may also appear. If any of these signs occur, the most important thing is to seek help immediately. Even if the symptoms disappear after a few minutes, they should never be ignored. After a stroke, the brain has something remarkable called neuroplasticity. This means it can learn to reorganize itself. If one part of the brain is damaged, other areas can learn to take over some of the lost functions. It is like a city where a main road becomes blocked. Cars begin using alternative streets. With time and practice, these new routes can function very well. This recovery process can happen through simple exercises, gradual movement, and activities that stimulate the brain. Light movements, guided exercises, and controlled breathing can help support this process. Nutrition also plays an important role. Certain foods help maintain healthy blood flow throughout the body. Fish rich in omega-3, leafy vegetables, berries, and natural foods help protect blood vessels. Drinking enough water is also important because the blood needs proper hydration to circulate efficiently. But perhaps the most important lesson is this: learn to listen to your body. The body often sends signals before major problems occur. Learning to recognize these signals can save lives. Another simple practice that may support circulation is starting the day with gentle movement. Before even getting out of bed, some people sit on the edge of the mattress and take several deep breaths. Then they gently move their feet and legs. These movements help the leg muscles push blood back toward the heart. Some specialists even call these muscles the second heart because they help pump blood upward. Stretching the neck, slowly rolling the shoulders, and breathing deeply can also help the body wake up more smoothly. Small routines like these may help maintain healthy circulation over the years. Sleep also plays an extremely important role. Sleeping well allows the brain to recover and maintain its functions. Constant stress can damage blood vessels, while moments of calm help the body relax. Simple things such as walking in sunlight, talking with friends, listening to music, or laughing can support the cardiovascular system. The human body is far more adaptable than many people realize. It is constantly trying to adjust, protect itself, and recover. When Margaret noticed the symptoms that morning, she did not know exactly what would happen. But she stayed calm. She lay down, elevated her legs, and breathed slowly while her husband called for help. By the time paramedics arrived, part of her speech had already begun to improve. Later, at the hospital, doctors said that her quick response may have prevented greater damage. This shows the power of knowledge. When someone knows what to do in a moment of crisis, fear decreases and action happens faster. It is not about living in fear of disease. It is about being prepared. Preparation brings calm. Preparation brings safety. Preparation can save lives. If something like this ever happens to you or someone close to you, Remembering these simple actions may make a big difference. Stay calm, lie down, raise the legs, breathe slowly, and call for help immediately. Sometimes the simplest actions can be the most important, and sharing this kind of knowledge may help protect others. Because the next life protected by this information might be someone you love.